Welcome to the Go Find Nervous Show, the show where we talk about 3 experiences our guests overcame on their journey to success. Let me tell you a little about our guest today, Serena Settlemier. We're going to talk about overcoming adversity in softball. We're going to talk about producing reality TV. And we're going to talk about this epic Grand Canyon hike, which is like this really sick story that I've heard. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So welcome, Serena, to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me, Jake. Pleasure.
You got it. You got it. Let's talk for the audience for a minute about this softball story, how you went through this adversity. You thought you weren't ever going to play again. And then you kind of basically said, I'm going to take the bull by the horns and I'm going to control my destiny. That's the way I took that story. So tell me a little bit about that, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had an injury in high school where I had a bone, I broke my ulna and got a cast.
Yeah.
Got a cast on, and then it was basketball season. So my dad and I decided to cut it off so we could play season. So the bone ended up growing 4 millimeters too long in my forearm. Just the backstory of where we're going with this.
Wow. Okay.
So fast forward, I go to Kansas. I'm a freshman. I'm having a great career, but my arm starts to swell up every time I pitch. So, I'd make it to the 5th or 6th inning and my arm would start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'd have to go in the dugout and the trainer would like milk the swelling out and we couldn't figure out what was wrong. So fast forward a little bit more, I end up having 4 arm surgeries, a bone shortening in my forearm and a metal plate and 6 screws put in. And as I was going into the surgery, the doctor told me I was never going to play softball again. Okay. So softball was my life. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around giving up what I had identified with for so long. So we go into the surgery. I come out of the surgery. It's 18 months of rehab. I spent 18 months of rehab thinking, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. It didn't come to me until my coach, she came to me and said, hey, your teammates said you're being negative. And I was super positive. I loved the team. And she's like, your teammates think you're negative. And I was like, wait, what? And so I took a step back. It was kind of like that why moment or that what the heck moment am I going to do with this adversity?
Right.
So I started to see, I went and saw a sports psychologist and started talking to him about how I can develop into a better player without playing. So we started visualization. I started reading self-help books like the Taoism and Mind, Body, Soul books, just to get those goals back into my mind that I was going to come back and play. So, for instance, the password to my email account and all my passwords were all American because that's really the end goal that I wanted to achieve at Kansas before I ended my softball career. So I go back to the doctor. So 18 months of rehab. I come back to the field. I'm hyped, ready to go. The doctor was correct. I couldn't play softball. I couldn't hit a ball because of the metal plate. And because I'm a pitcher, I couldn't snap the ball with a plate and 6 screws in your forearm. So I go back to the doctor and I say, hey, let's take the plate out. And he said, I've never taken the plate out on this surgery. And I said, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? And he said, you'll have a broken arm. We'll have to redo the whole surgery of 18 months of rehab. And I said, all right, if that's the worst that's happened, let's take this plate out. Let's take these screws out. I went and got a bone stimulator. I got on supplements. I dove into nutrition for healing the body. And I came back to play softball and was Big 12 Player of the Year, All-American. I set the home run record in the Big 12 for 22 in a single season. And I had an incredible senior year that ended up getting me to I got drafted to play pro softball for 4 years in the professional league. But all because I didn't give up on this dream and I took it into my own hands.
This is such a crazy story. So let me go back a little bit. Why did you cut the cast off but when you first initially injured it? There's a couple questions I have.
Oh, yeah. Back in high school?
Yeah.
Because when you're on a serious club team for softball, you're not supposed to be playing other sports.
Okay.
and I broke it in basketball. And I think I might have told that wrong in the beginning. I broke it in basketball, just playing basketball.
Yeah.
And so that's why we just cut it off and taped it up and called it a day. And it ended up causing me more problems down the road. But
yeah.
I also believe without the adversity, we might not have achieved the success in softball that I achieved.
Yeah, because you came with this crazy mindset, like the switch, and without the injury, you probably wouldn't have never had that switch, that drive, right?
Right.
So when let's go to now that you're in college, you're rehabbing, right?
Okay.
How do you go? Where does it go when the doctor says you're never going to play again? And then you say, how does that work? Is it from like immediately you say, okay, like when was that switch hit when you decided to just have the surgery, take the plate out?
Well, of course, yeah, it wasn't
what I mean?
instant. I came out of the surgery. I thought about, I'm never going to play softball again. How can I still lead my team and be a good leader? And it was like, I don't want to be part of a team if I'm not playing, to be honest, to be perfectly honest here. And so there were some dark times. There was a huge gap there in those 18 months.
Yeah.
Who wants to go to rehab every day knowing that you can't come back on the field and play? So it was finding that motivation to go do the rehab was like hard. There were days I didn't show up. There were days I didn't show up to cheer on the team because I just I was in a dark place until I got into that visualization. So I would say halfway through my therapy, I was like, I'm gonna prove this guy wrong.
Okay.
I'm gonna come back. And I started to believe in myself, and I started to have a little more confidence. Like, why can't I come back from this? Like, why does he just decide my fate? So, I guess the power of the secret, really.
That's really interesting. Was the trigger moment when your coach said you're being negative? Is that when you're like, okay, I got to flip something?
Yeah. No. That was the awakening moment when it was like, why are you, she wanted me to be a part of the team, but I was being negative. I was being the victim. Poor me. I can't play. What can I offer you guys? So, my coach told me I was negative, and I was like, whoa, you couldn't have said anything more that really could have hurt me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an awakening moment where it was like, how can we help myself and help others here?
Yeah. And then, so now you took this experience, you set these records, and then you end up going from somebody that was not even supposed to play to now you're playing overseas, right? Like you go overseas and you have all this amazing experience, right?
Well, believe it or not, they have an NPA or NPF, National Pro Fast Pitch draft out of college.
Okay.
So I got drafted out of college for having a stellar senior season. And then I played for the Texas Thunder for 1 year. And then the team got bought out by someone in Rockford, Illinois. They sold the team. So I went to Rockford, Illinois for 2 seasons. So I played 3 seasons in the NPF, and they traded me to Philadelphia. And I decided I had an opportunity to go play in a league in Italy.
Yeah.
We ended up winning the European Cup for Team Macerata. So I went and played in Italy, and then I played 2 seasons in Greece.
That's awesome. That's a great story. That's one of my favorite stories I've heard, just because there's so much adversity and there's so much opportunity to quit. There were so many times where it's been so easy to quit, and every single person would have been like, I understand why you quit, because you had this plate, and then you took it upon yourself to say, no, that's not how I'm going to do it. So moving forward with that, you take that. Gosh, we could talk for 2 hours, but with this limited time here, I want to jump into taking that work ethic that you had, that ability to take on the softball like that. How did that transfer into producing reality TV?
Great question.
How did you go from softball to producing reality TV?
Well, I always wanted to be like a sports reporter and work in sports and television. So I went to Kansas to get a degree in broadcast journalism, and that's what I graduated with. And so it was a passion of mine. So when sport ended, I was looking for that next best thing to replace sport. Right. I tried getting jobs in sports reporting. It wasn't the right time and fit when I was applying. So I moved to LA, went through my Facebook, made some calls because I had knocked on doors literally for 3 straight months at production companies, dropping my resume off, and no one would give me an interview.
Yeah.
Not one interview. And I was like, what the heck? I did this and I was good at softball. Why don't you care? And nobody cared. They were like, who do you know? And I was like,
Yeah.
so after 3 months of knocking on doors and not being able to pay bills, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Let's go through our Facebook contacts at the time and see who I know who lives here. So
Yeah.
I knew a girl that had played at Kansas with me. And she just got a role on American Gladiators. So I called her up and I said, hey, Jen, do you know anybody that will just like interview me and I can get them coffee like in the business? And she was like,
Just get
yep.
me in. Wow.
She was like, I actually do. I was at a party last night and this girl's assistant on Housewives quit. And she's like, I'll get you the interview. So I got the interview. The girl played softball at Oklahoma.
Wow.
We hit it off and
That's easy right there, right?
the
That was
rest
an
is
easy.
history. Yeah, I worked my way up and finally felt that that high again that I felt playing softball.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that being a producer, working my way up to being a producer in reality TV was kind of replaced that high that I rode in softball.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt important. I felt fulfilled again.
Yeah. Huh. So what was the thing that you took from softball into reality TV? Was it the work ethic? Was it being counted on? Was it having to be the person that called the shots? What was the thing that you carried over from softball? Because I think there's a lot of athletes that struggle with this. Go ahead.
I loved the routine. I loved the discipline. I loved waking up and I think that's what so many athletes lose after sport is the alarm clock going off and the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you have it on paper, what I need to do, I can do it. And when now life's in your own hands, I think that was very hard to adapt to. But I loved being a leader. I loved the discipline and the routine of sport.
Mm-hmm.
And the community it brought. So a lot of us athletes, we really miss the community of people. We're all working towards the same goal. So now it's like we're trying to find friends, we're trying to find coworkers, we're trying to find people in real life that will fill that team, that will have those people around you so that you want to work to get better every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you found that in reality TV.
Yeah,
So,
I found that in reality TV. I was, you know what? Being challenged.
yeah.
I was challenged again, and I love that. And I love that you have to wake up in the morning and you're like, dude, I could lose my job if something goes wrong. And there's a little bit of edge there.
Yeah, every
right?
day you got to perform because if you don't perform, it could be taken away right there.
Right. There's a little bit of same kind of sacrifice that sport had. Like, hey, if I go out tonight and don't wake up and perform, I'm screwed. So it was the same kind of mentality going into being a reality TV producer.
That's awesome. We're talking to @Serena_Settlemyre here. We're going to put that Instagram handle in the description as well. Let's move forward to this epic Grand Canyon hike. Tell me how this happened. People need to know this story. This is, I think, I've never heard of somebody
Don't judge.
doing this.
Just kidding. So many people are going to say this girl's a nut job, but
I mean, it's borderline, right? It's borderline, but it's an epic hike. So tell me. So you hiked the Grand Canyon, this crazy hike, but give me the backstory and tell me the story.
Okay. I'm going to back up just 2 seconds and say, I had a daughter I had already put in to hike the Grand Canyon. And back then you had to enter a lottery, right? So they're going to call you and say, hey, this is the date you have to hike the Grand Canyon. It's 26 miles. And you're like, cool.
Yeah.
I entered it because I was pregnant. I was getting ready to have a daughter and I started to lose myself again. You know, it's like going from sport to the real world to motherhood. I started to lose my identity and was trying to find, I wanted to do something extreme to feel alive. So I put in for the lottery. They called me. My daughter was 3.5 months old. They called me at 3 months and said, hey, in 2 weeks, we need you, or 2 weeks, here's your date to hike the Grand Canyon. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, cool. So I, to be honest, I was about 35 35 pounds heavier at the time. I hadn't lost all the baby weight yet, feeling
Right.
not great about myself, really coming off the couch, not tons of exercise in those first few months of motherhood. So I wanted something to make me feel alive. I went and hiked the Grand Canyon, and I had to bring my breast pump. I didn't really realize all the logistics that goes into it,
Yeah.
but I had to bring my breast pump, and I had to pump along the trail, which was so crazy and so embarrassing at times. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing? I remember, and so there was a cabin down at the bottom, and I had to plug it in and went over there, and there were people going, I have never seen anything like this at the Grand Canyon before. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know if this was a great idea, but I wanted to do something extreme to feel alive. And for me, accomplishing the 26 miles was good enough for me to say, even with 35 extra pounds, I can really do anything I put my mind to, because I wasn't in great shape at the time. And it was a very mental, I battled my mental toughness demons the entire time. I was down in there. So pretty cool to get to the top and be like, I'm not just a mom. I'm not just a softball player. I'm not just a producer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Now, how many miles into it before you started questioning your decision? Because at some point you had to be like, what am I doing?
It's when you get to the bottom. You get to the bottom and you're like, am I going to die down here? No. You get to the bottom and you're like, okay, now I have what, 12, some 14 miles to go all the way back up.
The hard miles, those are the hard miles too, right? Because you're going up. So
yeah, it gets a little dicey. Yeah, no. So I was halfway and I was like, maybe this wasn't such a great idea. And I should have just, because my parents flew in to watch my daughter. So I was like, maybe I should just gone to a resort and laid out by the pool and did some self-care. But instead of doing that, I needed to break myself down mentally, almost rip the walls down and build myself back up. And it sounds insane, but.
Right. But that's a different aspect of self-care. I think that's like self-care in itself, but it's a different way to achieve it. Like, so when you do that, don't you feel like you find a different version of yourself when you go on this? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you were on that hike, did you find a better version of yourself and then take yourself to a different level? Like, from this moment on, I just leveled up. Like, my expectations of myself, what I know I'm capable of, I just went another level. Instead of being at the resort, I'm in the bottom of this damn canyon. Did you ever have any thoughts like that?
Yeah, absolutely. The moment I finished, I was like, it kind of felt like my journey coming back and playing softball again. It was like I just had a baby and I'm being so hard on myself for being a fitness guru and being 35 pounds I still needed to lose. That like I'd been so hard on myself that this victory kind of showed me that like anything's possible, Serena, because it goes back to so much mental toughness and what you tell yourself. I mean, we spend so much time telling ourselves lies and negativity and things that just don't serve us, that aren't true. Like we wouldn't say to other people. And so I think that was a big lesson when I finished hiking the Grand Canyon, that like, we just give ourselves so much negative talk. And I'm still the same person. I'm still in there. That fight's still in there. That desire's still in there. And I still can achieve anything.
Yeah. What kind of negative talk do you find yourself doing to yourself? Because I've called myself every name in the book, and I try not to do it anymore. But is there anything specific that you can remember, a time that you were like, because one time I wrote in this journal, it was 2015. I was like, you are a loser. Stop acting like a loser. I wrote that in one of my journals. But then it's like, don't act like that. Have you had any moments like that you can think of, whether it be through the softball, whether it be through the hike?
Yeah, I think sometimes in life and in career, like you define yourself by all these things, but like the big job, that's success, or right. Being a great softball player is success. But at the end of the day, it's not really success. Your happiness is true success to me. What was the question again?
I was curious if you could think of any times that you had negative self-talk and you had to correct yourself. You're like, damn, I was hard on myself back then, like, oh, damn. It's kind of mean.
Yeah, there's a lot of negative self-talk. I would constantly, I think, tore myself apart in the mirror with my body image, especially being a fitness guru. Like I'm supposed to inspire and be the role model and do all the work. So I should look a certain way. And I think it's just the pressure we put on ourselves, society puts on us to be a certain person, or this is success. This is what family looks like, not being a single mom. Like this is what you're supposed to be with the white picket fence. And I think so much of us internalize that. When we don't achieve it, that's where the self-talk goes. But yeah, I'm not good enough. I'm fat. All of those things are insecurities that definitely I've told myself.
Well, I mean, I think you put in like 4 hours. We were talking the other day, and you put in like 4 hours in the gym or something crazy. I haven't put in 4 hours in the gym since I was in college, probably. So you're definitely not lazy, and you're somebody that I definitely look up to for inspiration. You're always you're always going to get it, so to speak, like going after something. And I really appreciate that to know you for that reason. We just got like a minute left here. Is there a way that people can follow you if they want to reach out, ask you some more questions about these crazy stories that you have?
Yeah, if anyone wants to reach out or wants my opinion on something or self-help, yeah, go to my Instagram. It's Serena_Settlemier, SERENA_SETTLEMIER, Serena_Settlemier. And you can find me there. I have my website there. Tons of videos about health and nutrition and workouts. And yeah, nothing's off limits. You can ask me anything. So
Right on. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Jake, thank you so much for having me. Thanks. This was awesome. This was fun.
All right. Hey, one last thing before you go, leave a comment. Which example did you most align with from today's show? I'm curious. I want to know. Also, if there's somebody that you want to find out what's made them nervous, leave their name in the comment. I'll try to get them on the show. Follow me on social media at Jake Bolig. Follow the show at Go Find Nervous. And if you don't mind, subscribe. It helps me out the whole algorithm thing. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Go Find Nervous.